Somewhere inside your body, in a molecule too small to see, lies a secret that contradicts almost everything humans have believed about race for centuries. Scientists once assumed that race ran deep, that entire bloodlines carried separate genetic destinies, distinct and divided since the dawn of humanity. But when researchers finally sequenced DNA from people across every continent, the results did not confirm what history had taught. They stunned the scientific world. The differences we see on the surface, skin tone, hair texture, facial structure, turned out to be only the thinnest layer of a much stranger truth. Beneath that surface, human beings across every so-called race share almost the same genetic code, more alike than anyone expected. So how did something so small create centuries of division, war, and belief in fundamental human difference? That question would send scientists chasing answers through fossils, ancient migrations, and the deepest code hidden inside our cells. What they found did not just challenge old ideas about race. It rewrote the story of where every human being truly comes from. Because buried in your DNA is a map, one that traces backward through thousands of generations to a single shared origin point. A place scientists never expected all of humanity to converge upon, no matter which continent, culture, or color separated us today. This is the story of what happens when science looks past appearances and asks a far more uncomfortable question. Are we really as different as we look, or has something deeper been hiding in plain sight all along? To understand the answer, we have to travel back before nations, before borders, before anyone had a name for race at all. Back to a time when every human alive shared one home, one sky, and one unbroken genetic thread. What scientists uncovered there would not just explain human diversity, it would question the very idea of division itself. And once you hear what the DNA actually revealed, you may never look at human differences the same way again. Because the real story was never about who is different. It was about how alike we truly are. That revelation begins thousands of years ago, in a place many never expected humanity's shared story to start. Long before written history, before cities or borders existed, one continent held the earliest chapters of every human story ever told. Scientists trace this beginning to Africa, where early humans first walked, adapted, and slowly spread across changing landscapes and shifting climates. Fossil evidence found in places like Ethiopia and South Africa reveals skeletons over 100,000 years old, remarkably similar to modern humans today. These early humans were not separated by race. They were simply people, surviving together under one sun, one sky, one shared struggle. For tens of thousands of years, they hunted, gathered, and adapted to forests, deserts, and grasslands, using nothing but instinct and community. Then, something extraordinary happened. Groups of humans began leaving Africa, walking into unknown lands never touched by human footsteps before. Some followed coastlines toward Asia, others crossed into the Middle East, slowly pushing into colder, unfamiliar territories few could imagine. Generations passed, and these small wandering groups became separated by oceans, mountains, deserts, and thousands of miles of open wilderness. Isolated from each other, their bodies slowly adapted to new environments, developing traits suited to sunlight, temperature, and altitude. In colder regions, skin gradually lightened, allowing more sunlight absorption for survival, where daylight became scarce and weak. Near the equator, darker skin remained protected against intense ultraviolet rays scientists say once posed constant biological danger. These changes did not happen overnight. They unfolded across thousands of years, shaped only by environment, not by any deeper design. Meanwhile, ancient civilizations began rising independently across different continents, each unaware the others existed at all. Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, ancient China, and early African kingdoms developed separately, yet all sprang from the same distant ancestral root. Historians still debate exact migration routes, but most agree small founding populations shaped the genetic patterns visible in humans today. As centuries turned into millennia, physical differences became more visible, and early societies began noticing distinctions between distant, unfamiliar groups. What no one realized then was how small those genetic differences truly were compared to what united every human population. The deeper mystery was not why humans looked different, but why such tiny genetic variations created such powerful, lasting divisions. That question would remain unanswered for thousands of years, buried beneath assumption, tradition, and incomplete understanding of biology. It would take modern science, laboratories, and the discovery of DNA itself to finally uncover the truth hiding underneath. Because ancient migration explained where people went, but not what was actually happening inside their bodies at the genetic level, something far more surprising was waiting to be discovered. Something that would challenge everything ancient civilizations believed about human difference. And when scientists finally looked inside the human genome itself, they found a pattern nobody in ancient history could have predicted. Inside every human cell lies a molecule called DNA, a coiled strand carrying instructions that quietly shape human traits. Scientists mapped this molecule through the Human Genome Project, comparing genetic material from people across every continent and population imaginable. The results startled researchers worldwide. Humans share approximately 99.9% of their DNA, regardless of ancestry or appearance. That means the traits we associate with race make up a tiny fraction of what actually defines human genetic identity. Evidence suggests most visible differences, skin color, hair type, facial features, come from a remarkably small number of genes. Researchers found something even stranger. Genetic diversity within a single African population can exceed diversity between separate continents entirely. This discovery challenged the old idea that races represent deep, ancient, biologically separate branches of the human species. One leading theory proposes that because modern humans originated in Africa, early populations there developed enormous genetic variation first. As smaller groups migrated outward, they carried only a fraction of that original diversity, creating narrower genetic differences elsewhere. Scientists call this the founder effect, where limited genetic samples from ancestral groups shape entire future populations abroad. This explains why some traits appear more frequently in certain regions without indicating any deeper biological separation between human groups. Blood type patterns tell a similar story. Types A, B, and O appear across every population, shaped by ancient disease pressures. Researchers believe malaria, plague, and other historical illnesses influenced blood type frequency more than ancestry or geographic origin alone. Modern DNA testing companies later confirmed this blending, showing most people carry ancestry from multiple regions, not a single lineage. Even individuals who appear to belong to one distinct group often carry unexpected genetic threads, connecting them to distant continents. Scientists believe this proves human migration never fully stopped, with populations mixing repeatedly throughout thousands of years of history. Current research using ancient DNA extracted from fossils continues revealing surprising connections between populations once thought completely unrelated. Geneticists have found shared DNA segments linking distant groups, evidence of migrations and encounters lost to written history. Yet many questions remain unanswered, including exactly when certain mutations emerged and how quickly they spread between populations. Scientists agree on the broad pattern, but debate continues over precise timelines, migration routes, and specific evolutionary pressures involved. What remains undeniable is this: race, as commonly understood, does not align with the deeper genetic reality found in DNA. The categories humans created socially do not match the fluid, overlapping, deeply connected genetic map revealed through modern scientific research. This left scientists facing an emotional and profound question, one connecting biology directly to human identity and shared history. If our DNA tells a story of unity, why did human beings spend centuries believing so strongly in division instead? That question would lead researchers toward the final, most powerful revelation hidden within the human genome all along. Everything uncovered by science eventually leads back to one undeniable truth, written quietly inside every human cell. The DNA comparison did not just measure genetic difference, it revealed something deeper about where humanity truly began together. Every population on Earth, regardless of skin tone or geography, traces back to the same ancient African ancestral root. That means the categories once used to divide people were never supported by the deeper biological reality hiding underneath. Scientists emphasize that human variation is real, but it exists as gradual, overlapping differences, not fixed, separate biological categories. This discovery carries weight far beyond laboratories, touching questions of identity, belonging, and how societies define human difference itself. If 99.9% of our DNA is shared, then what once felt like division was mostly perception, not biology. Modern genetics suggests race is less a scientific fact and more a social framework, shaped by history, power, and appearance. Understanding this does not erase culture, heritage, or identity, but it reframes how those differences connect to shared human ancestry. Researchers hope this knowledge encourages people to see diversity as variation within one family, rather than separation between different ones. Ancient migrations, environmental adaptation, and founder effects explain physical differences without requiring any deeper genetic separation between populations. The story written in our DNA is not one of division, but of an ancient journey shared by every human alive today. Every group that ever walked away from Africa carried the same origin, the same code, the same distant beginning. What looked like distance on a map was never distance inside the human genome, only branches of one connected tree. This revelation does not diminish human diversity. It reveals how deeply connected that diversity truly is beneath the surface. Perhaps the most powerful discovery is not what makes us different, but how remarkably alike we have always been. Centuries of division were built on visible traits, while the deeper genetic truth remained hidden until modern science arrived. Today, every DNA test, every genome study, continues confirming the same quiet, profound message about human connection. We are not separate branches competing for identity, but one human family shaped by migration, environment, and time. The next time you look at another human being, remember what your own DNA has already been trying to say. If this story changed how you see human connection, imagine what else our shared history has yet to reveal.